Hey students, it's me, Miss Duec, coming at you pre-recorded from the exotic location of my house in Queens. I hope that week one of distance learning has found everybody well. The video that I'm about to upload is a recap of book 11. In speaking to some people, I think some people missed the directive to read through book 11 because there wasn't a quiz on it or anything like that. So I'm just going to recap for you some really important parts. I suggest that you read at least the beginning of it because it's actually very moving, it's very touching, and it's a side of Odysseus that we haven't seen before. So in the beginning of book 11, Odysseus, as directed by Circe, goes down into the land of the dead. And so if you remember your Greek mythology, he needs to talk to Persephone, who is sometimes considered the queen of the dead. In my last video, I said that she has a lot of connotations with birth and growth, but also with death, because we know that the 6 months that she spends in the underworld is when Demeter sort of puts a blight on the land and everything dies. So he needs to speak to Persephone, and he needs to speak to Tiresias, who is a prophet who has died and is now living in the underworld. To me, the most important and touching part is when Odysseus sees his mother. So I'm going to take us to that line. So that's in book 11. And it is on line 177. So you can pause me if you want, take a second to go there. Right before this, Tiresias says, he does all of the things that Circe tells him to do, and Tiresias says, well, the one thing that the dead can't do is lie, right? Dead men tell no lies. And so he says that some shades or some ghosts, some spirits will approach you, and everything they say will be true. So Odysseus' mother approaches him, and she says, oh, my son, what brings you down to the world of death and darkness? You are still alive. It's hard for the living to catch a glimpse of this. Great rivers flow between us, terrible waters, the ocean first of all. No one could ever ford that stream on foot, only aboard some sturdy craft. Have you just come from Troy, wandering long years with your men and ship? Not yet returned to Ithaca? You've still not seen your wife inside your halls? So she's kind of shocked that it's been so long and he hasn't returned to Ithaca. Now the next part's really moving. I'm going to read it aloud. This is Odysseus speaking. He says, Mother, I replied, I had to venture down to the house of death to consult the shade of Tiresias, seer of Thebes. Never yet have I neared Achaea, never once set foot on native ground, always wandering. Endless hardship from that day I first set sail with King Agamemnon, bound for Troy, the stallion land, to fight the Trojans there. But tell me about yourself, and spare nothing. What form of death overcame you? What laid you low? Some long, slow illness? Or did Artemis showering arrows come with her painless shafts and bring you down? Tell me of father. Tell me of the son I left behind. Do my royal rights still lie in their safekeeping? Or does some stranger hold the throne by now because men think that I'll come home no more? Please. Tell me about my wife, her turn of mind, her thoughts, still standing fast beside our son, still guarding our great estates, secure as ever now? Or has she wed some countryman at last, the finest prince among them? So these lines are really revealing because, one, we realize that he doesn't even know that his mother's died. He doesn't know about his father's alive, right? And the things that he asks, I think, are very revealing of Odysseus' character and his current state of mind. So that's one thing to consider. She does tell him about his family, and if we go to the next page, so this is on line 233 of book 11, this part is very moving to me because I think that we see a side of Odysseus that we haven't always seen before. So he says, and I, my mind in turmoil, how I longed to embrace my mother's spirit, dead as she was. 3 times I rushed toward her, desperate to hold her. 3 times she fluttered through my fingers, sifting away like a shadow, dissolving like a dream. and each time the grief cut to the heart. Sharper, yes. And I cried out to her, words winging in the darkness, "Mother, why not wait for me? How I long to hold you so, even here in the house of death, we can fling our loving arms around each other, take some joy in the tears that numb the heart. Or is this just some wraith or ghost the great Persephone sends my way to make me ache with sorrow all the more?" My noble mother answered me at once. My son, the unluckiest man alive. This is no deception sent by Queen Persephone. This is just the way of mortals when we die. Sinew no longer bind the flesh and bones together. The fire in all its fury burns the body down to ashes. Once life slips from the white bones, and the spirit, wrestling, flitters away, flown like a dream. But you must long for the daylight. Go quickly. Remember all these things, so one day you can tell them to your wife. Chills, right? Longing to reach his mother, and he's not able to. So this is, I think, a very moving depiction. You can use this to analyze Odysseus' character. Again, to sort of analyze his motives, what he wants, how he longs to reach home, even though he does seem to be either the unluckiest man alive or maybe the most foolish man alive. At the rest of this chapter, he sees different shades or different ghosts, people that he knows, people that he doesn't know. At one point, what's interesting is that King Alcinous of Phaeacia, remember that's where he is telling the story, interrupts him to sort of say right, come of this, what's happening here? Odysseus asks again about his son. He asks about Penelope. He sees other people and they ask him things, but he doesn't know. But I think that the most important part, he sees Heracles, for those of you that were in group Heracles. I think that one of the most important parts is the end where he talks to Tiresias. Tiresias gives him very specific directions, and one of those directions is whatever he does, do not eat the cattle of the sun. All right, Odysseus. Let's see how this works out. Catch me in my next video where I'll be reading book 12. Like and subscribe. No, don't like. I turned it off. You can't like this. Love you guys.